Welcome to Time Drift, a sanctuary where the noise of the modern world slowly fades into silence. Take a deep breath in, and as you let it out, feel the weight of the day simply dissolving, leaving only a deep, heavy calm. Here, time flows differently, like a slow, winding river, gentle and endless. Tonight, we allow our minds to float back through the centuries, drifting into the mysterious heart of ancient China. It is a realm of celestial wonder, where emerald dragons sleep in deep, silent pools, and immortals wander through groves of bamboo, bathed in moonlight. There is nothing you need to do here, nowhere you need to be. Just let your eyelids grow heavy, very heavy, and visualize yourself standing at the foot of a vast, ancient mountain, its peak completely shrouded in a soft, white mist, waiting to embrace you in its eternal, peaceful slumber. Let your mind float backwards, drifting away from the present moment, receding further and further into the deep, velvety past. Before there were mountains, before there were oceans, before there was even light, there was only the primordial state, known as Hundun. It was a vast, endless expanse of chaos, but not a chaotic noise. Rather, it was a chaos of potential, a swirling, shapeless mist, dark and soft, like the heavy clouds before a deep sleep. There was no up and no down, only a gentle, eternal drifting, in a void of absolute, comforting darkness. In this infinite, obsidian silence, time did not tick, it simply flowed, thick and slow, like honey, over countless eons, barely noticeable to the eye. The vital energies of the universe began to gather. It was a slow coalescence, like dust motes dancing in a sunbeam. But here, they danced in the dark, drifting closer and closer together, weaving themselves into a center of gravity, swirling and condensing, until the mist became something solid, something waiting. From this swirling darkness, a shape finally emerged, huge and perfect. It was the cosmic egg, suspended in the nothingness, glowing with a faint, ethereal pulse. It contained everything that would ever exist, all the stars, all the rivers, and all the dreams of the world, locked tightly inside a smooth, round shell. It floated there, rocking gently, in the cradle of the void, completely at peace. Inside the shell of this magnificent egg, there was a silence, deeper than the bottom of the deepest trench in the ocean. It was a silence so profound that it felt like a heavy blanket, wrapping around everything, warm and secure. The distinct forces of the universe were all blended together here, a warm fluid of creation, where nothing moved and nothing rushed. Everything was simply waiting, in a state of perfect, suspended animation. Resting within this fluid, curled up in the most natural, comfortable position, lay the first being, the giant, Pangu. He was the child of the universe, and he was sleeping, a sleep so deep and so restorative that it lasted for 18,000 years. Imagine the rhythm of his breathing, slow and steady, in and out, counting the centuries with every breath, deeply relaxed, completely undisturbed, growing stronger in the quiet dark. After those 18,000 years of dreamless slumber, Pangu finally stirred. A ripple went through the cosmic egg. He stretched his ancient limbs, pushing against the confines of his world, and with a movement that felt like the waking of a mountain, the great shell cracked. It was not a loud shatter, but a release, a long, sighing sound that echoed through the void, as the shell split open, spilling the contents of creation out into the open space. As the egg opened, the elements within began to separate, naturally and gracefully, the light, pure and clear substances, those that carried the essence of yang, began to drift upward. Visualize white steam rising from a calm lake in the morning, effortlessly floating higher and higher, expanding into a vast, luminous canopy. This drifting light, pale and endless, became the heavens, stretching out to infinity. While the light drifted up, the heavy, opaque, and murky substances, those that carried the essence of Yin, began to sink down, slowly settling, like silt drifting to the bottom of a riverbed, particle by particle, laying down a foundation, solid and dark. This heavy sediment coalesced, thickening and hardening, until it formed the grounding, stable earth beneath us, dark, rich, and silent. But the heaven and the earth were not yet stable. They tried to drift back together, to return to the chaos. So Pangu, standing tall in the center, placed his massive hands against the clouds, and his feet firmly on the dust. With every day that passed, the sky rose 10 feet higher, and the earth grew 10 feet thicker, and Pangu grew 10 feet taller. Imagine the feeling of that slow stretch, growing and lengthening, day after day, for another 18,000 years, creating the vast, open space that we live in today. For all those eons, Pangu stood alone, the only pillar connecting the sky and the ground. He did not waver, and he did not tire. He simply stood in the stillness, a solitary guardian in the mists of time, watching the gap between heaven and earth widen, creating a cavernous, peaceful room for the world to exist. His solitude was not lonely, it was necessary, a long, quiet meditation that allowed the universe to finally settle into balance. Now, let the image of the giant Pangu fade into the mist, and find yourself drifting forward in time. The world is formed. The mountains stand tall and silent, casting long shadows over the valleys, and the rivers flow endlessly toward the sea. But in this vast, pristine landscape, there is a profound stillness. No birds call out from the trees, and no voices echo in the canyons. It is a beautiful, but empty garden, waiting for something more, waiting for a heartbeat to break the eternal silence. Into this quiet realm descends the great goddess Nuwa. Imagine a being of celestial grace, often described with the upper body of a woman, and the long, winding tail of a dragon, gliding silently through the tall grass. She wanders alone through the lush forests, and over the green hills, admiring the world's structure, yet feeling a deep, hollow ache of loneliness. She stops to listen to the wind, but the wind has no story to tell, only the sound of leaves rustling in the empty air. Her journey takes her to the banks of the Yellow River. The water is calm, reflecting the gray sky like a polished mirror. She kneels down on the soft, damp bank, feeling the cool moisture seep into the ground. The earth here is rich and golden, a fine yellow clay that feels smooth and yielding between her fingers. She runs her hands through the mud, feeling its texture, cool, heavy, and full of potential, just waiting to be shaped. With slow, deliberate movements, Nuwa scoops up a handful of the wet, yellow clay. She begins to mold it, not rushing, but savoring the act of creation. She rolls the clay gently, smoothing out the rough edges, pressing her thumbs into the softness, shaping a head, then arms, and finally legs. It is a meditative process, quiet and focused, like a potter lost in the rhythm of the wheel, crafting a tiny figure that mirrors her own celestial form. She places the small, clay figure on the ground, and leans close, her face near the cold earth. Softly, she exhales, a long, gentle breath of divine life. As her breath touches the clay, the figure stirs. The stiffness of the mud softens into warm flesh. The dull yellow turns into a vibrant glow, and the first human opens their eyes, blinking up at the goddess. A small, quiet sound escapes its lips, a sound of life that ripples through the silent valley, finally ending the goddess's solitude. Nuwa smiles, but the world is too vast for just one. She continues her work, molding one figure after another, hours bleeding into days, until her hands grow weary. To fill the world, she takes a long, trailing vine, stripped from the riverbank, and dips it deep into the slurry of mud. With a graceful, sweeping motion, she swings the vine through the air, sending droplets of mud flying. As each droplet lands on the soft earth, it transforms, instantly becoming a person, populating the wide, open spaces with new life. Ages pass in this tranquil rhythm, until a day when the peace is shattered, not by noise, but by a deep, cosmic fracture. The pillars holding up the sky, damaged by the battles of water and fire spirits, begin to crumble. Imagine looking up and seeing a great, dark tear opening in the fabric of the heavens, a hole in the sky, where the stars are falling through, and the cold, chaotic winds of the void are rushing in. It is a moment of awe, terrifying yet mesmerizing, as the celestial dome tilts, and the waters of the earth rise in a slow, silent tide. Nuwa, looking upon her creation with love, knows she must heal the wound in the sky. She does not panic. She simply begins a journey, searching the riverbeds and the mountain peaks for 5 specific types of stones. She is looking for the essence of color: red, yellow, blue, white, and black. Imagine her walking slowly, gathering these smooth, heavy stones one by one, feeling the weight of the earth in her arms, collecting the building blocks of the universe, to mend the broken ceiling of the world. She brings the stones to a high peak, and there, she builds a fire, not a raging inferno, but a mystical, alchemical heat that glows with a steady, intense light. She places the 5 colored stones into the flames, watching them slowly melt, dissolving into a thick, radiant liquid. The colors swirl together, merging like paint in water, creating a glowing, viscous paste, a rainbow of molten rock, bubbling softly, and releasing a sweet, mineral scent into the high-altitude air. With the molten essence of the 5 colors, she ascends to the hole in the sky. With the patience of a master weaver, she patches the tear, smoothing the liquid stone over the darkness. The sky becomes whole again, sealed with the vibrant colors of the earth. If you look up at the night sky now, and see the Milky Way, or the soft glow of dawn, you are seeing the remnants of Nuwa's work, the colored stones still holding back the void, keeping you safe, under a roof of eternal, silent starlight. Leave the solid earth behind now, and let your spirit rise, weightless and free, drifting upward through the layers of the atmosphere, higher than the birds, higher than the clouds, until you arrive at the magnificent southern heavenly gate, It does not block your path, but stands open, a towering archway made of translucent, shimmering crystal, bathed in a soft, golden light. There are no guards here to turn you away, only the gentle, rhythmic sound of wind chimes, swaying in the eternal breeze, welcoming you to the realm of the sky. As you cross the threshold, you look down at your feet and realize you are no longer walking on stone or dirt. You are walking on a floor of solid, white clouds. They are firm enough to hold you, yet soft as velvet, yielding slightly with every slow step you take. It is like walking on a dense, silent fog that stretches out in every direction, a boundless ocean of white, glowing softly from within, inviting you to lie down and simply float on the surface of the heavens. Ahead of you, rising from the sea of clouds, are the palaces of the celestial court. They are not built of brick or wood, but of pure, spiritual materials. Imagine walls made of white jade, cool and smooth to the touch, radiating a faint, calming energy. The roof tiles are not clay, but sheets of spun gold that do not glare in the sun, but shimmer with a warm, buttery glow. The entire city seems to be breathing, a slow, rhythmic pulse of light that matches the beating of your own heart. In the center of this majestic city sits the Jade Emperor, the ruler of this quiet cosmos. Visualize him, not as a stern king, but as a being of absolute, unshakable calm. He sits upon a throne of dragon-carved jade, his robes flowing around him like liquid water, embroidered with the patterns of the constellations. He does not speak, for he has no need to. His presence alone maintains the balance of the universe, radiating a deep, heavy peace that settles over you like a warm blanket. He resides within the Lingxiao Hall, or the Hall of Miraculous Mist. The name itself is a whisper. Inside, the ceiling is so high it disappears into a haze of starlight. Massive pillars, thick as ancient redwoods, support the roof, and carved around each pillar are golden dragons, but they are not frozen in stone. They are moving, ever so slowly, coiling and uncoiling, drifting up and down the columns in a lazy, hypnotic dance, watching over the silence with heavy, sleepy eyes. Wander away from the palace now, and drift into the royal gardens. Here, the air is sweet and fragrant, filled with the scent of dew. You find yourself in the legendary Orchard of Immortality, where the panto peach trees grow. The leaves are carved from emeralds, and the branches from dark, polished amethyst, hanging low and heavy, laden with fruit that glows with a soft, pink light. Time has no meaning here, and the ripening of these peaches is a measure of eternity. Some of these trees, the ones with the smallest blossoms, take 3,000 years just to flower, and another 3,000 years to bear fruit. Imagine the patience of a tree that waits 6,000 years for a single harvest. Standing here, you can feel that slow, geological pace, slowing your own thoughts down, untangling your worries, until they stretch out and dissolve into the long, slow cycles of the gods. Beyond the garden, there is the Pavilion of Stars. This is the center of the celestial bureaucracy. It sounds like a place of work, but it is actually a library of silence. Countless scribes, moving with the grace of dancers, work in absolute quiet. They are recording the movements of the stars, and the destiny of every soul. There is no scratching of pens, only the soft brushing of ink on silk, a repetitive, soothing sound. Hush, 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 as the order of the universe is meticulously and peacefully maintained. In this realm, there is no scorching heat, and no freezing cold. There is only an eternal, balmy spring. The light never fades into absolute darkness, and never burns with intensity. It remains in a perpetual, golden twilight, the hour of the wolf where the world is quietest. You are safe here, suspended in a moment that never ends, where the flowers never wilt, and the tea in the jade cups never goes cold. Stand now, at the edge of the cloud layer, looking down through the mist. Far below, the world of mortals is a tiny, spinning marble, chaotic and fast. But up here, standing next to the Jade Emperor, you are untouched by the speed. You are the observer, high above the noise, enveloped in the majestic, orderly silence of the sky, breathing in the cool, thin air of immortality, and breathing out perfect, restful contentment. Let the golden light of the Jade Emperor's palace fade, and let your mind drift to a different time, an ancient era where the balance of the world was fragile. Imagine standing on the earth, looking toward the eastern horizon, where a colossal mulberry tree once grew, its roots anchored deep into the ocean, and its branches brushed the roof of the sky. This was no ordinary tree. It was the resting place of the suns, huge, glowing orbs of fire, nesting in the leaves like radiant, golden birds. In those days, there was not just one sun, but 10. They were the children of the celestial emperor, and they operated in a perfect, orderly cycle. Each morning, one sun would rise, drawn across the sky in a chariot, while the others rested in the cool shade of the mulberry leaves. It was a gentle rhythm, day and night, day and night, a slow heartbeat of light that kept the world warm and alive. But imagine, if that rhythm broke. Imagine a day when the 10 suns, full of youthful energy, decided to rise all at once. You look up, and the sky is not blue, but blinding white. The heat is not a warmth, but a heavy, physical weight pressing down on your shoulders. The rivers do not flow, they steam, turning into long ribbons of mist that vanish into the air. The earth cracks, the crops turn to dry straw, and the world holds its breath, baking under an unrelenting, tenfold gaze. Into this shimmering, heat-hazed landscape walks the archer, Hoi. Visualize him standing on the highest peak of the Kunlun Mountains. The air is thin and scorching, but he is still. He holds a bow made of tiger bone, smooth and heavy in his hand. He does not rush. With a slow, deliberate inhalation, he draws the string back. The wood creaks softly, a sound of immense tension, bending, until the arrow is poised, aiming at the blazing chaos above. He releases the string, not with a bang, but with a deep, resonant thrum that vibrates through the mountains. One by one, the suns fall. Watch them drift down like slow-motion meteors, huge fireballs cooling as they descend, turning into three-legged ravens before they vanish. The blinding light dims, the oppressive heat lifts, escaping like steam from a pot, until only one sun remains, gentle and solitary, casting a long, cool shadow across the recovering earth. For this great deed, the archer was given a gift, rare and precious. He traveled to the far, western peaks, to the palace of the Queen Mother of the West. She handed him a small, wooden box. Inside lay the elixir of immortality. It was not a liquid, but a fine, glowing powder, radiating a soft, white luminescence. It promised a life without end, a life among the stars, but it was only enough for one. But destiny, like a river, often changes its course, in a moment of fear, or perhaps protection. Hoyi's wife, the beautiful Chang'e, took the elixir. She placed the powder on her tongue and swallowed. There was no pain, only an immediate, strange sensation of lightness. The weight of her body, the pull of the earth, simply vanished. Her feet lifted gently off the floor, hovering inches above the wood, caught in a sudden, silent updraft. She drifted out of the window, floating higher and higher. Her silk robes billowed around her, looking like a cloud passing in front of a star. She reached out for her husband, but she was already too far, rising uncontrollably toward the brightest object in the night sky. The earth below became a dark patchwork quilt, shrinking away, as she was pulled into the embrace of the cold, silver moon, drifting through the vacuum of space, in absolute, terrifying silence. She landed softly, like a snowflake settling on a frozen lake. The moon was not made of cheese or rock, but of cinnamon trees and palaces of pure, cold crystal. The great palace of vast cold, the Guanghan Palace, stood waiting for her. Its halls were empty. Its floors were polished mirrors of ice, reflecting the lonely brilliance of the stars. She walked through the silent corridors, her footsteps making no sound, the eternal, solitary queen of a silver world. But if you listen closely, in the deep quiet of the lunar night, you can hear a sound, faint and rhythmic. Tap, tap, tap. It is the jade rabbit, Chang'e's only companion. Under the shade of a white cassia tree, the rabbit sits, holding a jade pestle, pounding medicine in a mortar, tirelessly working through the centuries. It is a comforting sound, a steady heartbeat in the void, keeping the goddess company, as she looks down, forever watching, the blue world she left behind. Slowly, let your gaze drift down from the cold, silver moon, descending through the layers of the night sky, until you see the vast, dark ocean stretching out beneath you. The surface is calm, rising and falling with a slow, rhythmic breath. In this deep, watery world, we meet the lords of the East, the magnificent Chinese dragons. Forget the stories of fire and destruction you may know, for here, the dragon is a creature of benevolence, a spirit of water, and a guardian of peace. Unlike the heavy, winged beasts of Western legends, these celestial beings are light and fluid. They possess no wings, yet they soar through the heavens as easily as a fish glides through a pond. Imagine a long, serpentine form, undulating through the clouds, swimming through the air itself, defying gravity not with force, but with a natural, ancient magic. They are the very essence of the wind and the flow of the river, embodied in a single, majestic form. Visualize one of these creatures hovering before you, shrouded in a fine mist. Look at its noble head. It does not look like a monster, but like a collage of the animal kingdom's greatest traits. It bears the antlers of a great stag, branching out with elegance and pride, representing longevity and deep connection to the forest spirits. Its eyes are not filled with malice, but with the slow, burning intelligence of a demon, or a god, watching the world with eternal patience. As your eyes trace down its long, winding neck, you see its body is not covered in rough hide, but in the shimmering scales of a carp. There are exactly 117 scales, 81 infused with the essence of yang, or light, and 30-6 infused with yin, or darkness. They gleam like wet emeralds, or polished sapphire, armor that is both impenetrable and beautiful, glistening with the moisture of the clouds. Look closer at its paws. They are the paws of a tiger, strong and silent, ending in the sharp, curved talons of an eagle. In one of these claws, the dragon often clutches a single, flaming pearl. This is not a weapon, but the pearl of wisdom, or the essence of the moon. The dragon protects it fiercely, carrying the light of knowledge through the dark storms, a guiding beacon in the swirling grays of the sky. These dragons are the masters of the weather. When they breathe, their breath does not scorch the earth. Instead, it condenses into swirling clouds. The mist you see clinging to the mountain peaks in the morning, that is the dragon's breath, cooling the air and hiding the world in a soft, white mystery. When their voices rumble, it is the sound of distant thunder, promising relief to the dry, thirsty fields below. They spend their days moving between two worlds, the sky and the deep. In the heavens, they organize the clouds and direct the winds, but their true home is beneath the waves. Imagine a crystal palace, sitting at the very bottom of the eastern sea. The walls are made of transparent crystal, allowing the blue light of the ocean to filter through. It is a place of absolute, pressurized silence, where the dragons rest on beds of pearls, far away from the noise of men. There are 4 dragon kings, one for each sea: the great dragon of the east, the south, the west, and the north. They are the brothers of the deep, governing the tides and the currents with a gentle hand. They do not fight for dominance. They simply exist, ancient and royal, wearing robes of water and crowns of coral, holding court in the crushing depths where time moves slower than anywhere else on earth. The presence of a dragon is a blessing. When the farmers look up and see the dark coils moving in the storm clouds, they do not feel fear. They feel gratitude, for the dragon brings the rain. Visualize the gentle patter of rain falling on a bamboo roof. Tap, 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 washing away the dust, turning the brown earth into rich, green life. It is a nurturing power, a gift from the sky, delivered by the silent, swimming gods. And just like the seasons, the dragons have a cycle of rest. As autumn fades and the cold winds blow, the dragons descend from the sky, shrinking down and diving deep into the mud of the riverbeds. There, in the cold, dark silt, they hibernate, sleeping through the freezing winter, perfectly still, waiting for the first crack of thunder in the spring to wake them and call them back to the open, endless sky. Leave the deep, rolling waves of the Dragon King's ocean behind, and let your spirit drift back toward the land, hovering over a forest of ancient, emerald bamboo. Here, where the morning mist clings to the leaves, you might catch a glimpse of a creature born of pure grace, the Feng Huang, known to some as the Chinese phoenix. It is not a bird of fire and ash, but a celestial spirit of peace, floating on the wind like a colorful kite, detached from the worries of the world below. As it glides closer, you can see that its feathers are not made of ordinary plumage, but seem to be woven from the very fabric of the sunset. They shimmer with the 5 sacred colors: red, yellow, white, black, and azure, shifting and blending as it moves. It has the proud, elegant neck of a snake, the back of a tortoise, and the tail of a fish, a beautiful, harmonious, impossible creature that embodies the perfect union of yin and yang, drifting through the sky in absolute balance. Watch how it moves. It never lands on the low ground, and it never rests in an ordinary tree. It seeks only the wutong tree, the Chinese parasol tree, waiting for its broad, heart-shaped leaves to offer a perfect, dignified perch. It eats only the morning dew and the rare bamboo seeds, existing on the purest essences of nature. It is a being of such high virtue that its mere appearance is said to bring a hush of tranquility across the entire land. If you listen closely, you might hear its song. It is not a screech or a chirp, but a melody that sounds like a jade flute, playing a slow, haunting tune in a distant valley. The song has 5 notes, perfectly clear and perfectly resonant, vibrating through the air and settling in your chest, calming your heartbeat until it matches the slow, rhythmic pulsing of the bird's magnificent wings. Now, let your gaze lower, down from the treetops, to the soft, mossy floor of the deep woods. The light here is dappled, filtering through the canopy in shafts of gold. Stepping out from the shadows is a creature of legend, the Qilin. It looks frightening at first, with the head of a dragon and the body of a deer, covered in dragon scales that glow with a faint, blue light. But do not be afraid, for this is the gentlest soul in all of mythology. The Qilin is a creature of such profound benevolence that it refuses to cause harm to any living thing. Watch its hooves as it walks. They are hard, like stone, yet it steps with a magical, impossible lightness. It places its feet so carefully that it does not even bend the blades of grass it walks upon. It floats over the forest floor, leaving no footprint and making no sound, a silent ghost of kindness, wandering through the trees. It will not even tread on a wandering beetle or eat living vegetation. It simply exists, radiating a field of prosperity and serenity. To see a Qilin is to know that the world is at peace. It stops near a stream, lowering its antlered head to drink, and the water does not ripple. It remains perfectly still, mirroring the creature's ancient, wise eyes, heavily lidded and full of dreams. Let the forest fade now, and travel in your mind to the far, frozen north. The air grows cold and crisp, biting at your cheeks. This is the domain of winter, and deep, dark water, emerging from the shadows, is the guardian of this realm, the black tortoise, known as Xuanwu. It is not just a tortoise, but a massive, ancient being, intertwined with a serpent, wrapped together in an eternal, silent embrace. This great beast is the color of midnight, dark and solid. It does not move quickly. In fact, it barely moves at all. It stands like a mountain of black stone, heavy and grounding. Its shell is etched with the secrets of the cosmos, patterns that look like the stars in the northern sky. The snake coils gently around the shell, resting its head on the tortoise's neck. 2 beings functioning as one, symbolizing the perfect stability of the universe. To be near the black tortoise is to feel an immense, settling weight. It is the feeling of a long winter's sleep, where the snow covers everything in a thick, white blanket of silence. The tortoise breathes, once every season, a breath so slow, you would think it was a statue. It represents endurance, longevity, and the quiet strength of simply being, remaining still while the world rushes by, anchored in the deep, comfortable dark. Now, let the solid ground beneath you soften and dissolve as you drift further down, deep below the roots of the mountains, to the realm of the yellow springs. This is not a place of darkness, but a place of eternal, dimly lit twilight. The air here is cool and still, filled with the scent of damp earth and old incense. It is a quiet highway for the soul, a path that everyone must walk, eventually, stepping softly into the gray, peaceful mists of the afterlife. You find yourself walking along a riverbank. The water flows silently, black as ink, and smooth as glass. This is the river of forgetfulness. It does not rush, It simply meanders, winding its way through the shadows, carrying the weight of a million memories, washing them downstream, away from the weary travelers who walk beside it. There is a hush here, a respectful silence, that wraps around you like a heavy, comforting cloak. Up ahead, emerging from the fog, stands a structure of ancient stone, the Naiha Bridge, also known as the Bridge of Helplessness. It arches gracefully over the dark water, old and covered in slick, green moss. It is not a bridge to be feared, but a bridge of transition. It represents the inevitable, the moment when we must stop looking back and simply cross over, leaving the burdens of the past on the other shore. At the far end of this bridge, nestled in the gloom, sits a small, wooden pavilion. It is humble and welcoming, with a lantern hanging from the eaves, casting a warm, orange glow against the gray mist. This is the station of Lady Mengpa, the guardian of memories, and the grandmother of the soul. She stands there, timeless and patient, stirring a large, steaming cauldron that has been bubbling since the beginning of time. Lady Mengpa is not a judge. She is a healer. She knows that to enter a new life, one must not carry the heavy luggage of the old one, the heartbreak, the regrets, the long nights of worry. She offers to take them all away. She ladles out her special brew, known as the soup of forgetfulness, or the 5-flavored tea, into a simple, clay bowl. The steam rises, carrying a scent that is both bitter and sweet. Visualize the soup, swirling in the bowl. It is made from the tears of the living, and the herbs of the underworld, gathered slowly over eons. It looks like muddy water, but it glows with a faint, magical luminescence. Lady Mengpi offers it to you, with a kind, knowing smile. Her hands are wrinkled and warm, shaking slightly, as she presses the bowl into your hands, urging you to drink and find peace. You lift the bowl to your lips and take a sip. The liquid is warm, spreading a gentle heat through your chest, unknotting the tightness in your muscles. With every swallow, the details of your history begin to blur. The names of your enemies fade away. The specific reasons for your sadness dissolve like sugar in hot tea, leaving only a vague, distant sense that they once mattered. It is a feeling of profound, absolute relief. Imagine a heavy backpack, filled with stones, being lifted off your shoulders, dropping to the ground with a thud, leaving you feeling weightless, floating, light as a feather. You can no longer remember who you were, but you do not mind. In fact, it feels like waking up from a long, confusing dream, into a space of pure, white clarity. Empty and clean, you place the bowl back on the table. You bow to Lady Mengpa, and she nods, pointing you toward the mist beyond the pavilion. You step forward, no longer a person with a history, but a pure, shining spirit, a blank slate, ready to be written upon again. You are floating now, drifting toward the 6 paths of reincarnation, drawn like a moth to a distant, soft light. This is the cycle, the great, turning wheel of existence. There is no end, only a new beginning. As you step into the light, you are ready to be born again, perhaps as a bird soaring over the mountains, or a fish in the deep ocean, or a human, ready to learn and love all over again, safe in the knowledge that the universe will always catch you. Take a deep breath, and let your spirit rise from the mists of the underworld, ascending higher and higher, until you find yourself standing on the jagged peak of a celestial mountain. The air here is thin and incredibly pure, smelling of pine needles and cold stone. This is the home of the Taoist immortals, beings who have shed the weight of the mortal dust. They do not live in palaces of gold, but in caves hidden by the clouds, or in huts woven from living vines, simply existing in harmony with the wind. To be an immortal is to be free. It is to have a body as light as a dried leaf, capable of riding the updrafts of the morning breeze. These beings do not worry about time or hunger. They survive by sipping the morning dew from the petals of orchids and inhaling the purple mists of dawn, watching the centuries roll by like clouds drifting across a valley, untethered and perfectly at ease. Among these wandering spirits, there is a legendary group known as the Eight Immortals. Imagine them gathering on the shore of the vast eastern sea, preparing for a journey. The first one you notice is Li Taiguai. He looks like a beggar, leaning heavily on an iron crutch. But do not be deceived. That iron crutch is older than the stars, and harder than diamond. It is not just a support, but a magical vessel, capable of transforming into a dragon, or a bridge, at a mere whisper. Beside him stands the gentle Han Xiangzi. He holds a flute made of smooth, purple bamboo. He lifts it to his lips, and plays a single, long note. The sound is so pure, that it causes the waves to calm, and the flowers on the nearby cliffs to bloom instantly. It is a music that speaks to the soul, quieting the noise of the mind, and inviting a deep, hypnotic trance. Wandering near the water's edge is Lan Saiha, holding a woven bamboo basket. But this is no ordinary basket. It is filled with flowers that were picked thousands of years ago, yet they still glisten with fresh dew. They are the flowers of the void, representing the beauty that never fades. Lan Saiha swings the basket gently, scattering a scent of wild jasmine and peony that drifts over the salty spray of the ocean. The sea before them is wide and boundless, the waves rolling in with a heavy, rhythmic crash. Ordinary men would need a great ship to cross these waters, heavy with wood and sails, but the immortals need no such things. They laugh softly, their voices mingling with the spray, and decide to cross the ocean, not by fighting the water, but by floating upon it, using their own magical treasures. Watch closely now, as Li Taiguai unclasps his iron crutch, and tosses it onto the heaving waves. It does not sink. Instead, it grows, and stabilizes, turning into a sturdy raft of black metal. He steps onto it lightly, drifting out onto the foam, bobbing gently like a cork, perfectly safe, in the cradle of the sea. Then Han Xiangzi throws his bamboo flute. It spins through the air, and lands on the water, expanding into a long, slender log. He steps onto the instrument, and uses the music of the wind to propel him forward, sliding effortlessly over the surface. Next, the flower basket is tossed, becoming a round, fragrant boat, carrying its passenger amidst a bed of eternal blossoms, gliding over the dark, blue deep. One by one, the others follow. Imagine the immortal He Xiangu, throwing a single, large lotus flower into the tide. She steps onto the petal, glowing with a soft pink light, and floats away. The ocean carries them all, a flotilla of magic, drifting toward the horizon, rising and falling with the slow, breathing rhythm of the sea, up and down, up and down. They move further away, until they are just specks in the distance, disappearing into the white fog that joins the sea and the sky. They are going to the Isle of Penglai, the island of eternal youth, somewhere beyond the mist. But for now, just hold the image of them drifting, effortlessly crossing the abyss, supported by nothing but faith and magic, leaving no wake behind them, only the silence of the open water. Let the image of the floating immortals fade into the white mist, and turn your eyes upward, deep into the velvet canvas of the night sky. There is a river flowing there, but it is not made of water. It is made of diamond dust and ancient light. We call it the Milky Way, but in the old stories, it is the silvery river, a vast, shimmering barrier, dividing the heavens in two. It flows silently, arching over the world, a cold, beautiful stream of stars that has separated lovers for eternity. On one side of this celestial river sits the Weaver Girl, the star we know as Vega. Imagine her sitting at a loom made of clouds, her fingers moving like gentle rain, weaving the robes of the gods. She does not weave with thread, but with the colors of the dawn and the soft hues of twilight. Her work is seamless and endless, a lonely task, performed in the high, quiet palaces of the sky, where the air is thin and the silence is absolute. On the other bank of the river, far across the glittering expanse, sits the cowherd, the star we know as Altair. He is not a god, but a humble spirit, watching over his celestial oxen. He sits in the fields of the stars, playing a simple wooden flute. The melody tries to cross the river, drifting through the vacuum of space. A sad, longing tune, trying to reach the wife he can no longer hold. They were once united, a love that bridged the gap between heaven and earth, but such things are forbidden in the rigid order of the sky. And so, the Queen Mother of the West, with a single, sharp motion of her silver hairpin, slashed the sky open, creating the Silver River, a barrier too wide to swim and too deep to cross, leaving them stranded on opposite shores, forever gazing at one another, across the swirling, silent current of stardust. Night after night, they sit there, two bright sparks in the darkness, yearning for connection. The Weaver Girl's tears fall as meteor showers, streaking through the atmosphere, vanishing before they hit the ground. The cowherd watches the river flow, the endless procession of stars passing between them, marking the passage of time, in a world where time means nothing and everything. But, even in the heavens, there is mercy. Once a year, on the 7th day of the 7th lunar month, the cosmos relents. If you listen closely on that summer night, you will not hear the wind, but the soft, fluttering sound of wings, thousands upon thousands of wings, beating in unison, gentle and rhythmic, like a heartbeat in the sky. All the magpies of the world fly upward, leaving the earth behind. They gather over the Silver River, hovering wingtip to wingtip, creating a living bridge, a bridge of soft, black feathers, spanning the star-filled abyss. For one single night, the Weaver Girl walks across this bridge of birds, her steps light and careful, to meet her beloved in the middle. It is a quiet reunion, whispered in the dark, before the dawn breaks, and the birds must return to the trees. Now, let your vision drift down from the stars, falling slowly, like a feather, landing softly on the peak of the mountain of flowers and fruit. Here, the air is sweet with the scent of wild peaches, and the sound of waterfalls fills the valley. But look to the very top of the mountain. There stands a rock. It is no ordinary boulder. It is a divine stone, ancient and weathered by the wind. This stone has sat here since the beginning of the world. It does not move, but it is listening. For millions of years, it has absorbed the heat of the sun and the cool glow of the moon, It has drunk the morning dew, and breathed in the essence of the earth. It is pregnant with magic, a stone womb, gestating in the silence of the high peaks, waiting for the precise cosmic moment to awaken. And then, one day, the stone cracks. It is not a violent explosion, but a natural opening, like a seed pod bursting in the sun. From the stone shell, a stone egg emerges, and the wind touches it, transforming it into a stone monkey. He blinks his eyes, two beams of golden light shooting up to the Jade Emperor's palace. But then he calms. He bows to the four directions, north, south, east, and west, breathing his first breath of mountain air, destined to become the Monkey King. But for now, just a newborn spirit, standing alone, on the roof of the world. From the high peaks of the Monkey King, let your spirit drift down, slowly descending into the quiet valleys below. As dusk settles, you see small lights flickering in the distance. They are lanterns, glowing with a deep, warm red. In this ancient world, red is not a color of anger, but a color of life and protection. It is the color of the blood that warms the veins, and the fire that warms the hearth, a vibrant, protective shield, keeping the cold shadows at bay. Imagine a brush dipped in vermilion ink, gliding over yellow paper. The ink is made from cinnabar, ground down over hours of patient labor. The brush moves silently, painting charms and symbols. These are not just shapes, they are anchors, holding safety and good fortune in place. When you see a red knot tied around a piece of jade, visualize it as a warm embrace, tightening gently, securing your peace of mind, and warding off the chill of the unknown. Time here does not tick in seconds, it flows in cycles, like a slow, turning wheel. Think of the zodiac, the great race of the 12 animals. It is a parade of time that has been marching for thousands of years. The rat, the ox, the tiger, passing by in a slow, rhythmic procession, marking the years not with numbers, but with the character of nature, changing and returning, always returning to where it began. And at the very end of this long line comes the pig. Legend says he arrived last to the emperor's party, not because he was slow, but because he stopped to eat, and then, feeling full and content, he fell asleep along the way. He is the symbol of good fortune and honest simplicity. He reminds us that there is no need to rush, that it is good to stop, to rest, and to close your eyes when you are heavy. The race is over, and now, like the pig, it is time for you to sleep. As you lie there, visualize the invisible energy that flows through the world. The chi, it is the breath of the universe. It flows through the mountains like a slow dragon, and through the rivers like liquid light. It is not forceful. It is like the wind moving through a field of tall grass, bending the stalks gently, passing through everything, connecting the stars to the stones, and the stones to your bones. Feel this energy moving within you now. With every inhale, you draw in the cool, fresh chi of the night, clearing your mind. And with every exhale, you release the stagnant, heavy air of the day, in and out. A slow exchange with the cosmos. The wind outside is your breath, and your breath is the wind. You are dissolving into the landscape, becoming part of the gentle, flowing stream of existence. And in this flow, everything finds its balance. Visualize the ancient symbol of the yin and the yang, two fish swimming in a perfect, eternal circle. One is white, representing the day and action. The other is black, representing the night and rest. They do not fight, they follow one another, round and round, in a slow, hypnotic rotation, endlessly turning, effortless, and smooth. Notice how the black fish, the een, is growing larger now, swallowing the light. It is soft and yielding, like water or velvet. It carries within it a small dot of white, a reminder that even in sleep, life continues. But for now, the yang is fading, the activity is ceasing, the sun has set, and the dark fish of the night has wrapped its cool tail around the world, bringing a necessary, restorative silence. We have drifted through creation, through the palaces of jade, and across the starry rivers, and now, we return to the beginning, to the mist. The 10,000 things of the world are settling down. The dragons are sleeping in the deep pools. The immortals are resting on the peaks. The heavy eyelids of the giant Pangu are closing once more. The story is finished. The scroll is rolled up and tied with a silk ribbon. There is nothing left to learn, and nothing left to see. You are standing at the foot of the misty mountain again. But now, the mist is rising, covering your feet, your legs, your chest. It is a warm, white cloud of sleep. You are safe. You are timeless. You are drifting, deeper and deeper, into the ancient, silent, dark. And now, the ancient scroll is fully closed. The majestic palaces of jade, and the glimmering rivers of stars, are slowly fading, receding back into the mists of time, formless and silent. Let the dragons return to their deep, dark pools. Let the immortals rest on their high, cloudy peaks. You do not need to hold on to them anymore. Simply let them go, fading into the white, soft fog. Feel yourself sinking deeper into your own bed, heavy and warm. There is no more story, only the quiet, steady rhythm of your own breathing. You are drifting away from the world of myths and into the world of deep, dreamless slumber. You are safe here, floating in the timeless dark. From time drift. Sleep well and good night.